Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Cheryl Gunapati, and I want to welcome you to the very first episode of Elevate Coaching Conversations. I am so lucky to have our guest today, Christine Mariani. She is a stress, anxiety, and burnout prevention life coach. And she's here to tell you all about the different offerings that she has and some tips and tricks on how you can overcome your overwhelm. She supports high performing professionals and entrepreneurs to transform their stress, inner chaos, and limiting beliefs so that they can become the best version of themselves. She helps people who are stuck in overwhelm by the three P's: perfectionism, procrastination, and people pleasing. She wants to help you turn your busy badge of honor into prioritizing your joy and living an abundance life. Christine, what's an abundance life?
So, an abundance life is my word of 2025. It's a made up word, but when I was figuring out what word I wanted to have as my beacon and North Star, I was calling it an abundance. I wanted to bring more fun in. I wanted to create something that was going to be inspiring to not only me, but other people. So, in jotting words down, I merged abundance fun, came up with a fun, and then I have dance because I want to make sure that I'm reminding myself to get movement, dance, and incorporate some fun in all the things. So, hence, a fun dance was born.
So, you have been a coach since about 2019. And what inspired you to become a life coach specializing in stress and anxiety?
Because I lived it. I didn't just study stress. I earned my PhD in overwhelm the hard way. I was in corporate America for over 20 years. I was high achieving and I was overgiving. I was a perfectionist, people pleaser, and I was all the things. And spoiler alert, the strategy didn't work out too well for me. And I knew that I needed help, right? So I got certified from Health Coach Institute in health, life, and business coaching. And really, I did it to help myself. I was burnt out. I was stressed. I didn't understand boundaries. I had a lot of issues. So once I got certified and I started healing myself, it was inspiring to want to help other people.
Was there a specific turning point that you can look back and think on that actually led you to want to start helping other people with their own stress and anxiety challenges?
Yeah. So great question. So when I realized that so many high achievers were silently suffering, just like I was, that was the day that I had that aha moment. We wear our busyness like a badge of honor, but inside we're drowning. And once I found my way to the other side, healthier, happier, and actually enjoying life, I couldn't keep that knowledge and practices to myself. I was inspired by my ongoing transformation to help others break free too.
What are some misconceptions that some people might have specifically around stress and anxiety?
So, stress is like a campfire, right? It can be manageable sometimes, even useful, but burnout, that's like your entire forest engulfed in flames while you stand there with an empty bucket. And stress comes and goes, but burnout is when your body, your brain, and your soul have had enough. And just to start shutting down piece by piece. And it's not just a feeling of being tired, it's a deep exhaustion and an overwhelming sense that you have nothing left to give. It's not, I need a vacation. It's not, let me push through it and I'll get better. It's not that I don't have time for self care. Like, it is a radical mind shift that really needs to happen to heal.
So, what are some early warning signs?
Early warning signs. Um, so for me, and what I see a lot in the people that I'm coaching, warning signs would be that you're exhausted even after sleeping, a relatively normal amount for what you might be sleeping. Feeling constantly irritated, even by the things that never used to bother you. Feeling numb, detached, or even just over it all more often than not. Um, I would say that becoming forgetful and foggier more often than what your usual maybe have been. And the things that used to bring you joy feel like a chore. And that is the heartbreaking piece of this puzzle. I actually got to the point where it was very hard to find any joy. And I was numb, I was detached, I was exhausted 24/7. It didn't matter if I had slept a solid night and took 3 naps. And I was foggy and forgetful to an alarming point. So I knew that even if my doctor hadn't said something to me that I needed to make radical changes, those red flags were all really very prevalent in my life.
Mm. And I think sometimes as just busy humans, we miss those red flags, right? Like we get so caught up
Absolutely.
in the day to day that
Yeah.
it just kind of becomes the noise in the background that we just don't hear anymore. How does our mindset impact the ability to manage stress? And what are some ways that we can shift to have a healthier perspective?
My practice for myself and building rituals is something that I work a lot with my clients on. So to have a solid and simple morning routine and an evening routine is the first step in putting the oxygen mask theory, right? So by filling our bucket up or filling our cup up, or as my coach Holly Hamill says, pour and drink from your saucer versus the cup. But morning routines, I personally have a no phone for the first 30 minutes that I'm awake. I love to stretch. I make sure I'm hydrating. I'm doing a breathing exercise. I'm setting an intention for the day. For me, a lot of intention is mindset and vice versa. They really go hand in hand. And then in the evening, I love to do a to-do list. I love to jot down the little milestones of things that I did get done. They could be something super simple. It could be something leading up to a bigger goal. But writing those three things down or things down, and then also just jotting down, doing a brain dump. Um, for me, getting everything out of my brain and getting it down on paper helps me sleep better. And I'm training my brain to focus on what is working and having that list of the to-dos to celebrate at the end of the day. And also to look back and reflect on in future days where I'm like, oh, I, I haven't gotten anything done or I'm feeling depleted. Um, I can look back at that list and feel like, oh my God, I did accomplish X, Y, and Z, or I'm not giving myself enough credit. So having that reminder and that ritual has been something that's been really powerful for not only me, but folks that I'm supporting.
I love that. I love the idea of a to-do list. And
Right? Like we have to-do lists, or I had to-do lists about making to-do lists, right? So, listen, I'm not going to say I don't have any to-do lists now, but as I'm crossing things off, I'm writing it on my to-do list. So my to-do list that I end up ripping up and throwing away over time, my to-do list is a running list of all of the things, and they could be little or big. But celebrating along the way is so important.
yeah, yeah. I actually worked with a coach a while ago that gave me a similar idea. She would say, all of the good things that you've done, even if you think they're really small, write it on a post-it note and then stick it in a vase, right? And whenever you feel really bad about yourself, pick out one of those post-it notes, open it up, and be like, I did that.
Yes. And I love the post-it note idea too. And I have clients who like actually make like a wall or put them up
Mm.
wall of wherever that they're working from, and we're a place that's a prominent space, whether it's their refrigerator or, just a space that they're walking past all the time. So it literally is that visual reminder of, yeah, girl, like you did it. Like you did this. And like all those little nuggets, really, like any one-off thing might not seem like a lot, right? But when you're seeing it in its totality and build over time, like that's just another like high five to yourself, which is so important.
What are some other resources that you've used that have really helped you dive into changing your mindset and making forward progress?
Any book by Brene Brown is and are staples and cornerstones in my bookshelf and my Audible list. Specifically, The Gifts of Imperfection and The Atlas of the Heart. They're my two go-tos for rereads or re-listens. And Atomic Habits by James Clear are is another one of my favorites.
I
Uh,
really love that book, Atomic Habits. He
oh,
talks a lot about habit stacking, and that was probably the first book that I had read that talked about that. And you talked a lot about morning routine, evening routines. Let's weave in a little bit of information on habit stacking into how you could make those morning routines doable
yeah.
for somebody listening to this podcast.
So if somebody is already, let's say, brushing your teeth, right, and you're already using mouthwash, but you want to floss a little bit more, right? So to add in the floss a little bit more between two things, kind of like sandwiches, pieces of bread, you're already doing those two things. So to add one small thing in that's going to connect to those two that you're already doing, right? You're building that routine, you're stacking something new against two pillars, two things that you're already doing routinely. So by adding in something with those two things next to it, we're building that repetition and it becomes second nature, over time.
Mm.
So by stacking those new thing into things that you're already doing, um, build your routine, whether that's your morning routine or your evening ritual.
So we talked about the to-do list, and that would be something that we would do at night or
Yes.
as we're checking things off of our to-do list. So what is one thing that somebody could do in the morning as a habit stacking routine that would put them in a really great spot to have a good mindset?
One of my current clients was like, I love making my morning coffee. And actually, so do I. And I was like, okay, so she wanted to do more affirmations, right? So she literally, we talked about every day writing out one affirmation, and she started a list. So literally she wrote out a list and or she printed out a list, but either way she took her list and she it taped it up inside of her cabinet above her coffee machine. So she was already in the ritual of making her coffee every day. So while she stood there for that minute or two, she opened up her cabinet to get her cup out, which she was already doing, and inside that cabinet were her affirmations. So now rather than standing there staring at her phone or, doing whatever, she's taking that minute or two and actually repeating those affirmations that really meant and resonated with her. So she's now getting herself into a loop of a positive space, really setting her mindset up for the day. And that's one small example of something that somebody could do in the morning.
And I want to bring us back to that concept that you talked about earlier, with your cup and the saucer, right? Because we kind of glanced over that, and I feel like it's like a really important concept for people to,
Yep.
especially when you have a career and maybe kids and a husband. So all of these different forces are going to be wanting something from you, right? And so like you have your cup, and the point is we want our cup to be overflowing, right? And so our cup is just for us. It's not for anybody else. And if other people want to take stuff from us, they need to take it from the saucer, right? Because um,
From what's overflowing from our cup, which is
exactly,
landing.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So that concept of only giving when you are already filled up. And I think for moms, for entrepreneurs, for high level executives, they're constantly in that work, do, give. And, by the end of the day, you might not have anything left in your cup. And then you go home to your family and there's nothing left to give. It's this whole, so what can you do throughout the day to keep filling your cup so that it's overflowing and you're not feeling overwhelmed, you're not feeling burnt out, you're not dissociating, you're not screaming at your kids because your cup is overflowing.
My cup was so bone dry, there was nothing in it at all. Like for windows of time, not even just a day. So to pour into myself with some self-care, self-love, mind, body, and soul definitely took some time to replenish that and to heal, right? But now, right, after stacking and doing all the things, to have my cup overflowing and to be able to serve, whether it's serving my clients, whether it's supporting my family, whether it's um, doing little household jibber jabber tasks, right? Whatever life is bringing us, to be able to do that from what's pouring over and from that saucer, we tend to plug in our devices, our phones, our computers, our tablets, our Kindles, all of our stuff, our earbuds, all the things. We tend to charge up our devices more than we end up charging ourselves up.
Mm.
And that's a broad stroke, assumption or declaration, right? But the point is that we should be charging ourselves up. The one other thing that we didn't talk about is knowing that what our non-negotiables are in life, to be able to set boundaries, to know that no can be a complete sentence.
Say it
To
again. Say it
that
again.
no and oh is a complete sentence. We should be able to say it without shame, without guilt, without feeling bad.
I think it's hard for women sometimes because we have all of these expectations on ourselves, expectations from our family, and then expectations from the community at large, right? And so to finally come into yourself enough to be able to say no, like, ooh, that doesn't feel good anymore. I don't want to do that, um, is really kind of such a powerful and maybe really difficult step for a lot of people.
It isn't. And I coach a lot around boundaries because so many people had blurry boundaries at best. So to be able to recognize what our non-negotiables are in life and then reverse engineer anything else, it becomes easier to recognize. It's like a muscle too. We're building that muscle up. It's not like overnight we're gonna squat and deadlift 300 pounds, right? Like, I mean, maybe somebody would, right? But, and it is a practice, right? But to recognize what our non-negotiables are in all the areas of our life, personally, professionally, with our families, with our friends, like there are certain things every week that, and self-care falls into that bucket as well. Whatever your non-negotiable is, singular or plural, it should not matter what is going on around you unless it's obviously something catastrophic. Um, you're going to do that as a priority, right? So for me, that boundary is now like my benchmark. It is now the blueprint of my designing an abundance life. I know at the very base minimum that I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I know every day that I'm meditating, I'm getting my movement in, and I'm doing some breathing exercises or tapping. Done. Half an hour in the morning, journaling at night, brain dumping, ta-da, done. Right? So whatever that is for somebody, saying yes to something, we're saying no to something else. And that's a big piece of the puzzle of what I am practicing and teaching and coaching around. Because if I'm on the fence, I'm like, I just want to say yeah, like by me being like, right, like all the dialogue that's going on, like, I don't want to say no, or should I say no? Like, if I say yes to this, what else am I saying no to? And then that usually 9 out of 10 times makes that no easier. So,
It's a really good point. I love that. That's a good reframe.
yeah.
Yeah. So how can people find you?
So I am all over the place, right? So, Cheryl, everything's in my link tree, which I know you're going to put down below. All my social channels are in there, my email, my Designing an Abundance Life Facebook group. Please hop in. You can get into that. It's a fun little group that we are growing. I offer all kinds of free challenges, added value, and support there. Um, and then you can also get to my calendar to book a discovery session to see if we could be good to work together on coaching one on one.
So what is one last piece of advice that you want to leave people with?
If you are struggling with the three P's, perfectionism, people pleasing, procrastination, if you're stressed, overwhelmed, and either coming back from burnout or verging burnout, please reach out. Let me support you. It doesn't have to be challenging, hard, and moving the needle even a little bit each day could add up to feeling like a very different person in 30 to 60 and 90 days.
Well, I think that's a really good point too, is that a lot of people feel like they have to do everything alone. And yes, you can make changes alone, but you know what? It's so much easier to make it with a supportive person to help you along the way.
Yeah, and for me, the golden ticket was is that having a coach myself one on one is where the magic started to happen because they were holding me accountable. Like I could say I was doing X, Y, and Z, but knowing that somebody was going to be asking me about X, Y, and Z made me do it that much more or want to do it that much more. And then they were motivating, celebrating, cheering me on, and or helping me pivot and reroute when life was lifing, which is going to happen. So having that one-on-one support and being held accountable, having somebody who is a coach, like I love holding space and having people being heard and seen. So if one-on-one coaching isn't necessarily your jam or you're not convinced, I offer some group coaching options as well. So definitely connect. Sometimes doing things in a group environment is less intimidating, and you build community and other like-minded people.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on to Elevate Coaching Conversations. Um, I love it. I have a takeaway. I'm going to change my journaling to at night because I got out of the habit stacking of doing it in during the day, and so now it just makes so much more sense to me. You mentioned doing it at night, so I want to do it at night, and I'm going to put in my to-do list. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Ah, like celebrating that you're open and curious to making those shifts. And it's okay if I hold you accountable to those two things.
Oh, absolutely. Keeping it spicy.
I see.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Christine. I appreciate you more than words can say. Have a great night.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.